Here we go. Good evening and welcome everybody to another episode of Mondays with Moshe. This is Moshe Norman out of Lakewood, New Jersey, together tonight with our featured presenter, Dr. Elisabeth Wajnryt from, is it Jerusalem?
Beit
Yerushalayim?
Shemesh. Beit
Oh, from
Shemesh.
Beit Shemesh. Okay, not too far from Jerusalem, Israel. And I just want to give everybody heads up. Elisabeth warned me before the show that if there is an air raid siren, she will be disappearing very suddenly. Now, I highly doubt that that's going to happen because those kinds of things don't happen in Israel. So,
I
um,
come back in 10 minutes anyway.
and we'll wait for 10 minutes and we'll talk behind her back, right? Okay. Well, tonight's topic that we're discussing is the topic of the treatment of eating disorders in therapy. This is a very, very, I think, potent, poignant, and important topic for many, many people because it affects obviously not only individuals, but also their loved ones, their family members. We all know somebody, at some capacity who's struggling with an eating disorder. And I think also the definition of an eating disorder may be broader, as we'll find out tonight, maybe broader than what we all know about. You know, we all know the words anorexia, bulimia, anorexia nervosa, if we want to sound really fancy, right? But are there things that may go beyond what we are familiar with, those very clinical terms? And how would we define the category? You know, at what point does something go from what's called disordered eating to eating disorder? What does it all mean? How do we define it and describe it? So that's going to be the topic tonight. I do want to welcome many people who are here tonight who this may be their first time here. If this is your first time joining Mondays with Maishi, if you are a clinician, if you are a mental health professional, I would highly recommend that you send me an email at mnormanlcsw@gmail.com. I'll put that in the chat box soon. mnormanlcsw@gmail.com, asking to subscribe to Mondays with Maishi. We already have at this point close to 1,650 mental health professionals on our group. We've been doing this show for the past 5 years. It's been enormously beneficial for so many of you. And you can get all you'll get pretty much is the flyer every week of who's presenting that week. And then subsequently the recording of that week's session, that week's episode. So again, if this is your first time here and you have not been familiar with the show, please send me an email, mnormanlcsw@gmail.com, asking me to subscribe you, and I'll subscribe you. You'll get the recording hopefully tomorrow and the weekly flyer. If you are not a mental health professional, well, it's our fortune and your fortune to be here tonight to learn from Dr. Elisabeth, originally from Brazil. I don't know, is it Sao Paulo, Brazil, that you're originally from, or a suburb? Okay.
Oh,
Okay. And if you're here and you're not a mental health professional tonight, is a unique opportunity for you to actually raise your hand and ask a question at some point later in the presentation. Um, so it's very unique because this is typically only for mental health professionals. I also want to announce that in the coming weeks, that's next week, then the following week we're going to be off, but the week after that, the June 9th, I believe, we are going to actually be hearing from survivors of acute eating disorders. So one of them will be a mental health professional, and the other person who's coming on June 9th is not actually a mental health professional. So we're going to actually have some follow-up and carryover from tonight's show into the next couple of episodes to really, really hone in on the stories, the personal stories of people with eating disorders. So again, if you're not a mental health professional, thanks for joining. For those of you who could turn on your videos, please, we love to see people's faces and the feedback that enhances for our show. So please do. And if you have a question or a comment, I'm going to ask you to click the React tab on the bottom of your screen and click the raise your hand button. And from there, we'll take your question in a timely fashion. I also want to just acknowledge that for Dr. Wajnryt, it is now 4 o'clock a.m. And she woke up extra early, got dressed, and is sitting at the computer at 4 a.m. So thank you very much. That is really, really an honor to have you. So Dr. Wajnryt, thank you again for joining. Tell us a little bit about who you are. I know you're a psychologist. I know you got your degree back in Brazil. I guess they honor it in other places in the world too. We consider Brazilian psychology to be legitimate, I guess. Tell us a little bit about who you are, how you came into the world of eating disorders.
Uh, so I was already a psychologist, a psychoanalyst, and with children, a senior kind of person, and I was still struggling with my food. I started my first diet on when I was 12 years old, and uh, and then on and on till I was already in what is called the yo-yo syndrome. I will diet, and then I would lose weight, and then I will recuperate some weight more than I was before, which is what happens with people who keep being on kind of a restriction mode to deal with food. And uh, and then I got in contact with an approach that I'm going to present to you. And it's
So just tell me, Elizabeth, what age are we talking about?
how old I
How old
when
were you? How old were you when this was all taking place? Were you a teenager? Were you a young
no,
adult?
I was already 30 something.
Ah, in your 30s.
Yeah, and repeating the same pattern and I wasn't what you can call a fat person. Maybe rounded, maybe chubby kazeb, but not I was a psychoanalyst, and I couldn't explain, and I couldn't even talk at my own therapy about this, because we didn't at that time. It was something that we live alone and in shame, but alone.
Mhm.
And when I launched this work in Brazil, when I got in contact with this approach and start to introduce it in Brazil, I was kind of a very weird person. My colleagues thought how a psychoanalyst is talking about food. It wasn't an issue for psychoanalysts, and I was also uh, I was getting more religious, so it was also too much for a psychologist, psychoanalyst, religion, and so everything and too psychoanalytical to be both. In some, I was kind of a weird, considered a weird kind
You
of
had two
profession.
strikes against you. You were bringing in food into psychoanalysis and becoming religious. That's two big strikes. Okay.
So it wasn't comfortable till I started to be successful. I went to every kind of program, TV programs, radio programs, every magazine, because it was something very different, very new, and looked serious. And then people started to change the approach, but it was hard. At the beginning, it was hard. But it sounded so true for me. It made such a huge difference in my life, in my relationship with my body, with my food, with how also I could, the atmosphere in my house with the kids, with the meals also changed a lot. So it works.
Well, congratulations. That's a beautiful story with a beautiful outcome.
Uh, I so let's differentiate eating disorders from what I am describing. What I'm describing is what we call a disordered eating. Every eating disorder starts with a disordered eating. Disordered eating means three symptoms. One is obsessive thoughts about it. You get up in the morning and go to sleep in the night thinking I what I ate, shouldn't I tomorrow what I will wait my body confusing if I am fatter today because of what I ate or not. Obsessive, very obsessive thoughts, compulsive uh, behaviors with food. So with food, so it's not a obsessive compulsive disorder, but has elements of obsessive thoughts and compulsive acts with food. And this yo-yo syndrome, your you can't feel your body stable because you are always uh, gaining weight or losing weight, gaining weight. You feel like you are different people all the time, different a different person all the time. And uh, and there is also another characteristic of this beginning of the disorder, that is that you are so disconnected from yourself. You don't have a clue of what is happening because you are eating feelings. You are following an external kind of program that dictates what to eat, how much to eat, when to eat. So your signals, your physiological signals, your what's going on with you, it, it becomes blurred, very blurred, and your self-esteem is very down. There was at that time a book. The book wasn't so meaningful in terms of bringing new things, but the name of the book was very interesting. It was called "If I'm so intelligent, why do I eat like that?" And this is a kind of an interesting name, because we know now, and in my practice, I see all the time that most of the people who get into this kind of trap with food and body are high performers with perfectionism, a lot of perfectionism and anxiety. So this is kind of the profile of the people. Of course, not only them, but and uh, and uh, and if I'm so intelligent, why do I eat like that? Because it's not related to our intelligence. Our intelligence is cortical, and what's going on is subcortical. I'm going to explain with more details, and we will see. Anyway, disordered eating is the starting of an eating disorder. Eating disorders is an spectrum. So you have in one side, on the side of not eating, you have anorexia, all types of anorexia, bulimia, and in the other side of the spectrum, you have being compulsive eating, which is what the book I wrote is about, which is this disordered eating, compulsive eating, emotional eating, um, binge eating, which is this turbo, and overweight. And now we have also, in this side, it's not a disorder, but we have people that's very interesting to work with, that are the post-bariatric patients that need some help in order not to come back to the same pattern that led them to this.
Elizabeth, can I just ask you, you said anorexia and different types of anorexias. Can you enlighten us? Are there different types of anorexias and bulimias, different levels? What's there?
Bulimia is bulimia. Bulimia is kind of eating and throwing up. This is the pattern. Anorexia, uh, a, you have what's called anorexia, the girl in general, girls, but now also boys, because there is an epidemic of anorexia uh, everywhere. In Israel, is kind of serious with our girls. So uh, anorexia being purged means being anorexic and also throwing up, and atypical anorexia, which is not eating, but you maintain your weight in a kind of a moderate level. People don't look at you and see at once that something is wrong. because but you are relating anorexically with the food.
And are all of those life-threatening or not necessarily?
If they are what? Sorry?
Are all of those diagnoses life-threatening?
Yes,
All of them.
especially anorexia. Bulimia, not, but not so much, but anorexia, yes. And has been killing our
Sure.
kids. And also there is something that happens that is chronification. So you don't go out of the illness till you die, and you are already an adult and an old adult and still anorexic. So we now know, and there is a special way of treating them also. I worked at Coli for since I got to Israel, to Coli. Coli is the Jerusalem Center for Recovery from Eating Disorders.
Mhm.
And the director is Rachel Barner, which a great professional. And she's kind of specialist in chronic anorexia. And then this is tough. This is very tough because the same way you restrict food, your life will will be restricted, very restricted also.
What do you mean?
Okay,
Explain what you mean. I'm not sure I understood that.
uh, these more acute uh, eating disorders, they impact a lot in the quality of your life, and because you tend to go to isolation, you you tend your life tends to go around the issues of eating, not eating, preparing, not preparing food, and
You mean
nothing,
it's
not,
like you mean it impacts severely impacts and limits your social connection
and
because
professional life, and
you're so enveloped and absorbed. This wouldn't have to be necessarily with an eating disorder, though. It could be with other things also, right? But something, anything that a person is so obsessed with and involved in will cause that kind of isolation.
mhm, yes, yes.
And what I find so ironic, and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't so much of eating disorders about body image because of what people will think about them. So here you have people so worried about and this is in general the paradox of social anxiety, that people with social anxiety are so afraid of what people will think of them that they actually act in ways that fulfills that prophecy, and people actually think negatively about them.
So let me introduce a little bit of science that I prepared
Yeah, let's do
for
it.
to parallel the pain of being in it, with science, and then with also the way out. I would like very much to come to the way out, because there is a way out.
Mhm.
Uh, we know now, and this, so I almost have, I think everything that I'm going to say is research-based, science-based, because I'm very much into it. And when we know that there are two main factors for a disordered eating that will become an eating disorder. One is restriction, food restriction, any kind of food restriction. And the other one is social media, and how it impacts on our body image. That is what you are describing.
Really?
So if restriction, including healthy eating, the healthy eating is also a way
Oh,
of
it's a
diet.
code word, right? It's a code word. It's a code word for
Yeah,
eating
yeah,
disorder.
yeah, yeah. And uh, everything that divides food, every kind of approach that divides food into good and bad. So there are the good ones and there are the bad ones, is a restricting mode. So I would like you to try to I'm going to do an exercise with all of you, I'm going to do with you. You will be the vocal of it, but please, if you want to share with me to see what do I mean by restriction and what does it and how does it work? What this is this the number one factor? So all of you and you, Moshe, do you like avocado? Avocado?
I
You
do.
do?
Yes.
You also? The ones that I'm not seeing, let's see, that are not.
We get a thumbs
Okay.
up if you like avocado. I mean, a virtual.
So,
Thank you, Julia.
so I beg your pardon. I'm really sorry, but from now on, you are forbidden to eat avocado. You won't eat avocado anymore for the rest of your lives. But don't worry because you can eat everything else, anything else, all the other foods that you like, you can eat freely. It's okay. But avocado, no. Okay? So, what are you thinking about now? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking about it's like it feels like avocado is magnified now. Like I'm gonna go and get that avocado and she's not gonna tell me what to do. And I really want an avocado, like that type.
Yeah. And you, thumbs up if more or less is the same.
Anybody in the chat? Can anyone share in the chat if they had a similar experience? Okay, Julia says, oh well, it's fine. I guess she doesn't like avocado that much.
So now, yes, so you are thinking about avocado. You are kind of a little bit starting to get angry at me. Why? Why avocado is a superfood? Why on earth is she saying such a thing? And I will eat avocado because I just created a salience. We have in our brain, we have pleasure centers, and I created a salience about avocado in this pleasure centers of yours. And you are free now, but the next time you will eat avocado, you will do two things that in general maybe you don't. You will eat a little bit more of it, just in case to stock up. It's called stocking up. And you will also do a little bit of farewell. We will eat a little bit more doing a farewell, just in case I won't eat. So I will eat also a little bit more. Stocking up and farewells is the pattern of the compulsive eating.
So wait, what is the fear? The fear well is stocking up more, meaning there's two levels. What's the fear well?
It's the last time I ate avocado. So I won't eat one or think chocolate or think whatever that. I won't eat only a little piece, yes. Even so, I will do
So you're saying if you're going to be
agreement.
restricted, if you're going to be told that you're restricted from eating a certain food, you are unconsciously going to stock up.
Yeah, but depends also the intensity of this effect depends on some some genetical and constitutional kind of aspects, but mainly on how many diets have you already done in your life, how prolongated dieting you have been enforcing on you, and how strict the diets that you have already done were. And why? Because the reaction that you are having is also pleasure centers, but mainly our defensive mechanisms. I just kind of touched in a very, very sensitive defensive mechanism that we have, that is a survival mechanism, that is food is going to be scarce, let's stock up. So the more you have already restricted, the more impact any kind of any promise of restriction. Oh, I will only eat healthy today, and I'm already losing control during the day.
So you're saying that the more restrictions you put on yourself over time, the more sort of desperate or dysfunctional reaction you're going to have towards food.
Yes, and it is dysfunctional because we live in a sea of food. Yes, there is a sea of food around us, thanks God. But it will be this alarm, prehistorical, and there is an author that call it this mechanism, call it the feast beast.
The feast
So
beast.
the feast beast. If I'm so intelligent, why do I eat like this? Yes, because it's not about my intelligence, my cortical intelligence. It's about subcortical defensive mechanisms and asking your about the physiology of it. And if we are talking about subcortical, we are talking about this amygdala, which is the siren of any kind of threat that is very close to our hypothalamus. I will talk about hypothalamus a little bit more, which is a gland that has many sensors to censor what's going on in our body, and it's the locus of the signals, the physiological signals that are the natural control that I'm going to introduce to you now, that are the natural control that we have to eating and to our weight, which are three natural signals: hunger, selectivity, and satiation. I guess you have already heard of hunger and satiation, and you don't know what selectivity is. And we will get there. If I forget, you call me and I'll tell more about it. Uh, so they are very close, the alarm and the signals. And it's also very close to the locus of our primary feelings. All the feelings you saw at the Inside Out film, they live here also in the subcortical, very, and they are neighbors, very close neighbors. And so that's why we start to get so sensitive also to any kind of message that food is going to be scarce. Let's eat. We need to eat. And it's called feast beats in memory of our uh, great grandfathers that lived in the caves and went out to any way to have something to eat, find a kind of a magnificent buffalo, killed the buffalo at the spot, ate everything that he could, and took some more that he could also to the cave in order to stock a little bit. So this is our uh, survival mechanism. It's not it's tough. It's about the buffalo. Yeah, it's not about the chocolate. So okay, uh, this is accompanied by a lot of all this. When it's happening, it's accompanied by a lot of negative thoughts. So what this any eating disorder and even the disorder eating means that I'm full of negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative thoughts about me, about food, about my body, about having eaten, about not eating, about and which means stress, not only stress that comes from outside, but a big uh, a big stress within all the time. I wake up checking if I'm fatter today. I go to sleep and also checking what did I do, why, what did I do with the food, why, oh my God, etc. I'm not going to that commemoration. I'm too fat. I don't have what to dress, etc., etc. So uh, stress, and this means, in the side of science that we are now, this means cortisol. Stress means cortisol, the hormone cortisol. And there are many interesting things about cortisol. Cortisol rules stress, but cortisol also rules digestion. Cortisol and insulin are the two hormones that are responsible for to digest everything that we eat. And so digestion means that I'm eating an apple, and then the apple is being digested, so it's becoming not apple anymore, is turning to sugar. So the end of digestion is uh, uh, sugar. And this sugar, cortisol, insulin, are also responsible to take it to our blood, and making this sugar go into and every cell that we have. Uh, but if we have stress, this won't happen. We will have a lot of sugar because I just ate. Uh, it won't enter within the cell, because we know now, cell, we learned the biology then, cell has membrane, uh, mitochondria, and nucleus. Yes. So now we know mitochondria is on fashion now on science. There is a lot of research on mitochondria. And we know that mitochondria, that we didn't know what does, mitochondria is responsible to get the sugar from the blood into every cell. Every cell has a mitochondria. So, and transforming this sugar into energy. So we were hungry, we ate, we will have energy. But if there is stress, we are not hungry also, but even if we are hungry, we ate, and it won't become energy, because mitochondria, when senses that there is stress, alarm, danger, will maintain the sugar around, out of the cells in the blood. Why? Because alarm means fight or flight responses. So I need energy in my extremities, in my blood, to act. And so I will eat, and will feel still hungry, still wanting more avocado, more chocolates, more everything, to calm down the sensation of something is missing, and numb, and this numb sensation also that I feel. So I feel numb, no energy, and very bad about having eaten.
So can I interject for a moment? I've heard people describe um, struggling with eating, and they describe, when we do some psychoanalytic kind of work, that as children they did not have food in the home. Very often, wealthy people whose parents were neglectful and didn't provide adequate food for the children. And they described feeling a sense of, I don't know if the word is panic or desperation when they're at a party or at a place that there's a lot of food, as if they have to grab food and stock up on it. Would you say that that's sort of the effect that's happening there? The trigger for them that says, you gotta eat because there's food here and it's not going to be soon. Does that trigger what's creating this effect that the cortisol then remains in the extremities, doesn't allow them to feel full, or is that something else?
No, 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 you are pointing something that is meaningful. There is there is a research with the Shoah survivors, uh,
Holocaust survivors.
uh, Holocaust survivors, and uh, and they really starved to death or almost dying. They were the one that survived, and uh, and they in general didn't develop an eating disorder, but the next generations, yes.
Because the parents would do what?
Because it is not a genetical kind of thing, but an epigenetical kind of thing. It's epigenetical. So they didn't hear the genes of this being prone to an eating disorder.
Mhm.
But we, yes, we receive this
Oh, I see
uh,
what the
epigenetics.
children.
So every time I restrict, I actionate also this extra charge of defensive-ness.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments at this point?
Yes.
We can break at this point, and if you have a question or a comment you'd like to ask, please click the React tab on the bottom of your screen and raise your hand. And I also want to mention, for those of you who have seen, I have been promoting the past couple of weeks Twofold, which is a wonderful website and an app. And basically, what all you have to do on that app is it uses AI. If you put a session summary, you dictate a session summary for 30 seconds or a minute into Twofold, they will actually type up a legitimate SOAP progress note that will stand in the court of law, so to say. And it's a wonderful way to shorten the amount of paperwork time that you do for clients. So it'll actually even create treatment plans for you. And, I put it out there over the past couple of weeks. A few people signed up and have found it to be enormously helpful. Like the feedback I got was incredible. So if you sign up and you want to get a little discount, you could put in the coupon code M Norman and you'll get I think a 5% discount or something like that for signing up. And they also have a trial period, so you can try it for 14 days. Wonderful program. Okay, somebody's asking in the chat box. I guess don't be bashful to raise your hand and ask. I don't understand why Holocaust survivors didn't have eating disorders, but the next generation did. What I understood you to be saying is because the Holocaust survivors were not born into eating disorder genes, but the next generation, what?
They epigenetics it doesn't mean that I will have this. We have billions of genes in our system, and not all of them develop. It depends also of the environment, of the circumstantial environment. Dieting, restricting, actionate this epigenetic tendency to being more vulnerable to an eating disorder.
Okay. Is that helpful? If you still have a question, please raise your hand or shoot it in the chat box. Okay.
I would like to talk, I would like to show you a model of that will lead us also to the way out of it. So is the
Wait,
model of,
can we just pause for another minute and take a question from Julia?
Hi, good evening. Thank you,
uh,
Elizabeth. Very interesting. So the question I have is, just because the next generation is, I don't know, likely but prone to developing an eating disorder, it doesn't necessarily mean that the current generation won't, right? It just predisposes the next one as well, but not necessarily that it excludes the current generation from developing an eating disorder. Am I understanding it correctly?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And you can't generalize, okay, but this is an idea also. I think it's interesting, this research it's interesting um, because we see it. We see it amongst us a lot of eating disorders. So
Do
and
you
this,
think the increase in eating disorder? I'm just thinking to myself in my childhood. I don't think there was anybody, maybe one kid that I've seen struggling with an eating disorder, but it's so rampant today. And I'm wondering it has to do with abundance of food or because I guess when there's an eating dis if there is a fear that you won't have food means there is shortage, right? But on the other hand, if there's shortage, you don't have food, so there's nothing to binge on in a way.
There are two things that they are the same that are impacting our generation, our kids, uh, almost every family, which is this ideology of about food, about eating, about healthy eating, about and the main thing that is disturbing our children, our pre uh, uh, pre-adolescent, adolescents, is fat talk, healthy eating talk, fat talk, and and this is prevalent. We sit in the table and start to eat, and at the same time comment, "Oh, this I shouldn't eat," and this is too caloric, and this is too, and this is impacting on our children. Body image is impacting children, very, very little children, 4 years old, are already commenting, "You are fat, I'm not fat, she is pretty, she's thin, I want to be thin." So this is what is more impact. And also, TV. Uh, yeah, uh, there are there are three things. There are research on what's the difference between thin people and not thin people. Thin people, I mean natural thin people, those ones that we envy, that they were born thin and they will die thin no matter what happens in their life. So these people, they do three things differently from us. First of all, they eat slowly, which is also on the other side the main factor for uh, staying better, a better relationship with their food. They eat slowly. They got more times from the sofa, which means if I am in my chair, comfortable in my chair, and I'm thinking, wow, I should come up and drink some water, and also I will also pick my phone, and also I will turn off the light on that room. So I'm thinking about how to come one time to economize my energy and do the three things. Meanwhile, I'm thinking this 10 people, this 10 person will have come and come back, go and come back, come and back, three times he will do. So this people, they don't do more, they don't go more to the gym, they don't do more exercises than us. But in general, they like exercising. They are more active. But this activity is about coming more, going more, staying more out there. Which and this is not about weight. This is related to metabolism of weight. The weight we try to we are looking at the scale is not a true information of what's going with our body and our weight. In general, the number you see is a recollection of what you have been eating and exercising during the last 20 days, not what you ate yesterday. So my obsessive compulsion of about weight means that I'm going to the scale sometimes many times a day to see if this glass of water and this and it's not true. You are not the number there is not reflecting this. It's reflecting your digestive system and the metabolism of weight uh, of the month.
Mhm.
Not then this is the second characteristic, and the third characteristic of thin people is also that they they don't go more to the gym to burn calories, because burning calories is also a myth. It's not about burning calories. And the secret is to be more active, to activate your metabolism and not burning calories. Eating less and burning more means eating less means you are kind of flirting with disordered eating, and burning more means cortisol, stress, jam. I must do more and more to my weight go down, and this is stress. So they do more. They choose pleasurable activities, and some of them are even not so aerobic, like walking with the dog or playing with the children or things
So
like
this
that.
is, I mean, this is a fascinating piece of information. You're saying that somebody goes to the gym or runs on the treadmill and is trying to work off as much weight as they can is actually inhibiting their weight loss
Yeah.
and challenging their body to maintain fat or to keep the cortisol in their extremities because they're like, I gotta get that extra mile. I have to keep up with the treadmill, as opposed to somebody who just much more active
Yeah.
will actually do better because they're engaging in calm or pleasurable
And
activity.
this is already part of the treatment because it's dealing also with the perfectionism, all or nothing. I must do all or nothing. If I go to the gym, it's to kill. And so out of all or nothing, and also out of anxiety, because it's also research based that one of the ways of lessening anxiety is just walking a little bit. So, a short walk is a good coping mechanism to anxiety. So, and these people, these tend to intuitively know these things and follow their inner signals. And we are very disconnected from our inner signals, because uh, any kind of, because it's all external. Someone, the guru of the internet will, or the doctor will say what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, what kind of exercise I should do, because and the coach will say no, not 15 times, 25 times. Go. So it's all external. We are very disconnected from ourselves.
Mm.
So we are approaching now to the way out. Yes, what can encompass all this and many more details, and the emotional eating, and it's a physiological, emotional, cognitive, the thoughts. It's about so many things, and also sometimes about sensitivities, food sensitivities, and what else? Addiction to sugar. So there is so much to talk about the pain and the science, and I would like to show you how I have been working, and I work it individually. I do a lot of counseling for parents. uh, I forgot to mention ARFID. ARFID is also an eating disorder, which means not eating or eating very little, but it's not about worries about the body. It's about sensitivity, extra sensitivity with food. So I do this work but the main thing that I would like to divulgate is that I do groups. I have a program for groups, and it's also scientifically proven that not being isolated, being belonging to a group and having support and accountability. So these are research-based factors that help us heal of everything. Uh, so support, accountability, a group, because we know now that brain is relational. brain functions much better when we are in relation with people and not alone. Uh, and these groups, the work is done is divided into modules. So in the first model, instead of dieting, restricting, what do we have? We have these three physiological signals. So the work is about teaching, doing very, very practical exercises with our three signals. First, hunger. So are you hungry now? Are you hungry?
I'm not.
How do you know?
I'm not feeling it in my brain, and I'm not feeling it pangs in my belly.
The second part is the right answer. You just connected to your belly. You are not feeling the pains that you usually feel, or the of the whistle, or the song, or the blah, blah, blah that we tend to feel when we are hungry. So this is the first model. First, uh, to learn how to eat out of hunger, physiological hunger, which already becomes to differentiate in us, disentangle emotional hunger. So it's about belly hunger and not mouth hunger or
Yeah.
pot hunger, things like that. Uh, I want to show before I continue to tell you the do you have time? We have
You have
to
till about 10:15 or 5:15.
let me describe the models, and then we come back to something that I think it was to have in mind. So the first model is about hunger, and then selective selectivity and satiation. We can transform these three signals into three questions. Am I hungry? That's I just asked you. If I'm hungry, belly hungry, what do I want for this hunger? And if I'm not so much restricting, my body, my hypothalamus will send a kind of a configuration. I would like something hot. No, I would like something salty now. I don't know why, but I'm thinking of oranges, or of rice and beans, which is the popular Brazilian kind of food. So it gives me a kind of an intuition, a configuration of what my needs, my nutritional needs are now. I know that this is that you have already thinking about, but chocolate and sweets and how do you say hatifim? How do you say, snacks? And so, because selectivity is a little bit complex and has many ingredients, the first signal is the first. If I'm hungry, am I hungry? The first question is, what would you like for this hunger? But in the work I do, I usually go to the third question first. We will work satiation. So satiation means stopping, not when I'm full and not when I'm already stuffed. Satiation is before, is a sensation of beseder, of okayness, but it's not. And satiation is the signal that impacts more on weight. So eating out of hunger, or eating something prohibited, caloric, not healthy, doesn't impact so much as consistently eating more than your satiation. This will make you gain weight.
How does a person, especially with a complicated relationship with food, how does a person really determine satiation? I'm just thinking about myself, and it's so common that I eat till what I think is satiation, but then a half hour later I realize that was way beyond satiation. You know, how does a person really, like, truly uh, um, tap into themselves to recognize.
First, eating out of hunger. Because if you weren't hungry, the satiation kind of signal will get a little bit confused.
Mhm.
Yes, because they go hypothalamus, send this senses, food, exactly what I wanted. Okay, it's about a kind of a they go one after the other, the signals. Uh, the most, the basic exercise for hunger and for that I do for hunger and for satiation is to train to use a rule, a scale, to put in a scale from 0 to 10 how hungry I am and how satisfied I am. Satiation, I also can define uh, like a sensation. For instance, we let's think that the stomach has a wall. It doesn't. But let's figure out that there is a wall. So I was hungry. I start here is empty. I started to eat, to put food, and in some point, I will feel a sensation that it's okay. Okay means that I'm near the wall, not pushing the wall. I'm just there, but not pushing. When I start to push this wall, I'm going out of satiation, and now I'm going to fullness. So I satiation, fullness, and stuffed. This is so I'm pushing so much that and this is the sensation of being stuffed. I ate too much. Oh my God. Yeah. So, but we do it. Uh, we do in the sessions. We do it, and you have a homework to train and another thing that's research based that is part of the work, journaling. uh, People feel so ashamed and it's so difficult for them to agree to journal to do a journal, but it's also to learn how to do it not judgmentally. Yes, so you will gain a lot of self-knowledge about yourself. So the
But
next
one more quick question on this. There are so many people who have, I guess, other challenges with food that impact their eating. So, especially the post-Holocaust generation that you were describing, might have a very hard time wasting food. So, I might have food on my plate. I notice myself satiated at a 9,
with
8,
passing,
10, right? And then I'm like, but I can't throw this out because I can't waste the food. Like you called it, stocking. What did you call it? Stocking up? So then what?
then what? It's also the work with the negative thoughts that you have, the beliefs, the dysfunctional beliefs that you have. So uh, uh, you are when you don't throw out the food, you are equating yourself as the bin, the litter. Yes, it's a pity to throw up, throw out the food. So I'll throw out within. And
Right.
I'm feeling bad, and the sensation is not good, and my body is kind of, oh my God. Oh.
So
Yeah,
you're victimizing yourself in the spirit of something greater.
so and these three signals and the exercises and the journaling may they help you to be much more accurate also in with the portions, with the portions that
Meaning
you the size of the
once you get the
portion.
hang of it, you'll start serving yourself more reasonable portions. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying? Once you get the hang of
and
it?
and feeling free to repeat if you want, because it's okay to eat. So the main mantra, the main positive uh,
Thought process.
thought, that will substitute the negative thoughts that are in my head, the main mantra is I will eat again when I'll be hungry again. When I'll be hungry again, I will eat again. Is the kind of matching hunger and food, hunger, food, hunger, food,
I don't have
food.
to eat. I don't have to eat right now. It'll when time
Now, or I
comes when
can
I'm
leave.
hungry.
I can stock up. I can put in the
Elizabeth,
refrigerator and eat and come
Elizabeth,
back.
I'm just right now. I'm feeling like a little infant whose mommy pulls her breast away, right? But I know that because of the past experiences, when I feel hungry, I'll make some noise and I'll get milk again. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So you are helping me to show what I would like to show to you. Do you see this model? It has two pendulums, one and the other one. So this is the natural pendulum we are born with. We are describing eating and not eating. The baby is sleeping and then he starts to get uncomfortable and then he starts to cry. And mother knows it's a hunger crying
Mhm.
and gives him, and then he's eating bottle point. He will do this.
Right.
He
Turns
will
away.
turn his, or he will put his tongue out because he is satisfied. So eating and not eating is a very natural kind of rhythm that we have. Hunger and satiation, hunger and satiation, and and selectivity because the baby doesn't eat anything. He knows very well what he wants, and food is connected to hunger. So, and thin people do this. They eat when they are hungry. They don't eat when they are not, and they stop when they are satisfied.
Stop hungry. Right. Stop eating.
And we, with our restrictions and the avocado kind of pattern, we tend to exaggerate the pendulum. So we start eating a little. We start thinking about restricting, and then we eat more, and then we think about another restricting, and we begin to exaggerate. And we go out. I don't know if you see there is this mark here. We go out of what is called moderation.
Mhm.
You do a diet. You have been to a diet, and you get to the point where the doctor or the guru or the coach or the magazine said, "Okay, now you go to moderation." Yes, and it's a very very happy phase of your life that doesn't stay. The maximum that you savor this moderation is 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, you are back to the old patterns. Because maybe you gain weight, and you are already again to the yo-yo. So moderation is a myth, has been a myth to everybody. You do that triumphal entry in the commemoration. Everybody says, "Wow, you look
That's so
wonderful."
good.
The day after, you start to gain weight again,
Wow.
and so you start to exaggerate. So the work is about moderation. It's about stabilization. It's not about losing weight. I, this work, this program, we are not responsible for what happens with your weight. The promise is that this is a different mindset to deal with
Different
food and
relationship with
body
food.
that I called making peace.
Okay.
Instead of being at war all the time and defensive, you make peace with food and body.
Okay.
So
Let's take a question from Devora. Go ahead, Devora.
Hi. Okay, so my question is this: how do you deal with, like, in our from world, hunger is not listening to our hunger cues, or eating when we're hungry is not always the option. Like, how do you deal with clients who, we have to eat at certain times, like there's ritual involved, or there's, certain times that you have to eat, or Pesach, for example, you eat a big meal and then you eat a second meal, and it's like, oh God, who wants to eat again? Like, how do you can't always necessarily honor or pay attention to the hunger, because sometimes you have to sit down for a meal whether you're hungry or not. So how do you work with that with clients? Like, how does that factor in?
The only thing that I don't agree with what you said, Vara, is that
Yeah.
you can't be connected to your hunger signals. Uh,
Okay.
you can, but I agree with all that you are saying. It's very tough. This Hagim, these holidays are very is all about food. The 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 exercises, the tools, the psychoeducation, everything that uh, that you can learn about yourself means uh, negotiating with the hug, negotiating with this fantastic table in front of me, and I can't have it all, but my hypothalamus is saying, this cake, and not all the cakes. It's saying this salad, and not all the salad. So I can
Be
how to
selective. You're talking about
get to more moderation, because I agree we tend to really exaggerate. So exaggerate, but in moderation, something like this to gain more a sense of a little bit more in control. And I will give you a tip also. The one of the tips where you are at the table and there is so much food and everything, everybody is eating and taking, and you are just also automatically, this means automatic and conscious kind of eating,
Mhm.
emotional sometimes, depending of the atmosphere of the emotional atmosphere of the table. So one simple thing that you can do is staying with people commemorating, but just distance your chair a little bit from the table, because the salience of the food, because so this sometimes can help us to get more moderate, not like a not the perfect kind of eating, but more moderate. So the big thing is moderation. And when we come to, I would like to talk about the other models. The other part of the work is about so emotional eating and emotional eating, and then mindful eating, which is learning how to really eat slowly, because all of us have already tried and it's very difficult. And then we go to the body part, first body image, and to work on it a lot, to learn how to feel our bodies like babies feel. Body as a function, body functioning. My hands, my belly, my legs, my everything is has a function, and so I'm I am with the function and not body as an object. That is what's happening. Body now is a selfie that that we have all the time to confirm how are we in this selfie that we have, and we are very disconnected of functioning with our bodies. There is a work with the mirror. Women know how mirror is a difficult issue for us, and clothes, also clothes. So this is the other model. And then we go to metabolism of weight. And then what's more important is this, that the last model is what I call the personal equation, because this it's not a one size fits all. This doesn't fit all. You have to accommodate to your lifestyle, to your family, to your work, and times in the day that you really are able to eat and not. So there is a lot of negotiation, and but it depends on your personal equation. You will gain so much because you are going in, not out there looking for solutions, but in. And gut feelings, and the place we feel hungry is here. Gut feelings, these signals live in the hypothalamus and here. And we know now that guts have brain cells. That's why everything turns emotional or
I
intellectual.
finally, for the first time in my life, I understand the expression "trust your gut."
Blood sugar.
It's
And
the
so
brain
it's
cells.
also so in doing this with food, we are also you are also going inside And self-esteem that you didn't have, self-esteem is an equation. Is self plus esteem. When you are you are inside an eating disorder, you don't have self and you don't have esteem. So you don't have self-esteem, very low, because you don't have a sense of self. You are out there looking for models of who you are, who you must be, what you must eat. So when you turn into this and self, and these gut feelings are the place of the intuition. So selectivity is about an intuition, and intuition is a big part of ourselves. Trusting our intuition is a big part of our self-esteem also. So it's a whole set of strategies that make you connect to yourself instead of looking for transformational. Transformation is a word in fashion now. Everyone promises transformation. I hate this. I hate this word. Transformation means you are not going to be yourself anymore. You are going to be another one. So, and that's why it doesn't stay. So it's about being more and more yourself. So this personal equation, what you like, the hours, the with food, with sleep, with all your needs. So it gives, it proportionates a window of self-knowledge that you take with you, and you will you will use now in peace, not at war, because we are at war with ourselves all the time. And now, so my work is called Making Peace with Food and
Wow.
Body.
Can you just hold up your book for a minute?
Maybe.
Elizabeth wrote a book. If anyone who can read this cover gets a prize. I don't know what it says, but my understanding is that it's in the process of being translated into English and Hebrew and Chinese, Mandarin. Just kidding. English and Hebrew.
If you help me, maybe.
Yeah, I don't speak it that well. Certainly can't edit.
The name of the book is Were They Happy and Thin Ever After? Because we are always running after this myth that we will get there, we will be happy and thin forever, and we won't. And the second title is The Ways Out of Compulsive Eating. Well,
The subtitle. Okay.
First
Okay.
of all, thank you. I love the questions. I love your questions. I love your questions also. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Wow. Do you have a minute for a couple of questions that I see?
I have all the
Oh,
time.
you have the whole day. It's
For
like
it's for
5 in the morning for you.
it was 4 in the morning. Now it's 5 in the
That's
morning.
five
So
in the morning. It's already
the have
wake up time.
a long day.
I think I hear the roosters in the background, right? The roosters in the background.
My
Yeah,
my
waking up the people of Beit Shemesh. The roosters cooing in the background. Okay. Does anybody have any live questions that you want to ask? If you do, please raise your hand. Um, I want to just run to some of the questions that I noticed in the chat.
And
Uh,
I want to add something. So I do the groups, I do parents counseling when it's the case, and I would like very much. I didn't yet. I did it in Brazil. I'd like to do prevention because this work heals, but it has much more effect when before or when it is a disorder. It is not an eating disorder active, and and it can prevent so much. So
okay. Elizabeth, somebody asked about um, intermittent fasting, which sounds almost antithetical to everything you're saying. What can you say about that?
it is.
Okay.
Intermittent fasting is a very natural process. I eat when I'm hungry. I don't eat when I'm not till I get hungry again. So this is also intermittent fasting. So much uh, an internal kind of control and uh, and self-knowledge, and it's much more benign, in my opinion. Some people benefit from this, but chances are that you say intermittent fast and you will do farewell to food
Meaning
immediately.
you're concerned that it's going to make them more hungry and they're going to want
I
to.
know about the keto, the ketosis, science will prove. I think it's an exaggeration, and people fail. They try for some time, and then they start to fail, and then they go to another diet and not keto, and then Mediterranean, and then paleo or whatever. But it's an out solution that comes from outside, and not respect your inner
Okay.
feeling.
I would like to put your email address in the chat box. Is that okay? The one that I have?
Yes, can I will.
There, I have it here. I just copied it and
You
pasted it.
have, please.
It's Elisabeth.
Any other questions that you have that you would like to ask, or anything
I
that
just
you need?
I want to say that I found this to be absolutely fascinating. There's a tremendous amount of material that I learned tonight that I had absolutely no idea about. Um,
What do you take home with you? What do you special take from this tonight?
especially number one.
And please, all of you also take one thing that you can.
Let me you mean what would be the one takeaway? I mean, again, to me, what was very important was the idea that working really hard to try to lose weight is actually just um, how would you say it? Sorting your cortisol, and it's not necessarily helpful. So that like
Must be out of pleasure. You must have pleasure with what you're doing for it to be more effective.
many of the things that we're doing are actually counterintuitive, and that's why we try, and then burn out because it's just you're doing things to sort of
Or get
artificially.
physically hurt also.
Okay, but to artificially lose weight
Mhm.
versus change your relationship with the way you eat, wherein your body will do what it knows what it needs to do. It knows how to be healthy.
Mhm.
Mindful eating, selective selectivity, um,
I,
probably
I can
probably
I
the
can
most.
give another talk only about selectivity.
Yeah.
That is
Okay. Okay. I take that as an offer. I hear an offer there.
always,
But
always.
I think the thing that I would that I that's probably most important to me in my lifestyle is satiation, without a question. Satiation is something that if I were to imprint in my mind, in my brain, that probably would help me tremendously with weight, digestion, and everything. Is really
So I
satiation.
will give you I will give you a tip. Do you have time for another tip about
For a tip,
satiation?
for a tip, we have time.
Uh, so let's imitate thin people, how they do. They we are eating with them, and fork and knife and putting food in, and in some time this person will give up the fork and knife. It will, and he also eats like this. He puts something in the mouth, and then he rests fork and knife, and then he puts again, and then he rests fork and knife, and we don't we don't lose them at all. So this is a way learning. If you have someone who eats like this, imitate, go and imitate, to try to catch the
Rhythm,
rhythm
the
of.
rhythm, the rhythm.
And yeah, and what else they do? So they eat slowly, and they really stop. They really abandon the plate. The plate is still with something that you see. Wow, he's not going to eat the this part of that part. No, he won't, because he's already satisfied. He disconnected from the food at some
So
point.
you're talking about observing eaters, watching it. They're gonna throw us out of the
Right
restaurant.
ones. You don't need more
Gonna get-
examples of,
But we're
of
also gonna
all.
get tossed. We're gonna get kicked out of the
They
restaurant.
are in extinction now, so they are a species in extinction. So go, go
Okay,
after
go ahead,
them.
Elliot. Let's hear from Elliot.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you were trained in psychoanalysis. So I guess part of me is a little surprised that you don't have more of a psychoanalytic, twist to it, to look at the person's history, maybe underlying desires, things like that. So I'm just wondering what your take on that is.
A good question. And sometimes I also ask me, where is my psychoanalyst? Um, I do an intake of history. I follow the history. I follow the circumstances, and it gets more psychoanalytical when we talk about emotional eating and the triggers and the journal and being in the process all the time, checking the feelings uh, and the thoughts. And also there is psychoanalysis when we are dealing with the obsessive thoughts. So a fat thought, the law in my work is that a fat thought is every thought that makes us feel bad with our body or with our food, present, past, and future. So any fat thought that we have is never about fat. So it's Anna Freud. Yes, it's about every kind of obsessive compulsive act is not about the thing. If I'm washing my hands, it's not about washing my hand. It's about something else that this defensive mechanism is kind of trying to protect me of getting conscious. So there is a lot. There is a lot because and people are very eager to. But my problem is not the food. My problem is my emotional eating. Is at night. Is boredom. So it starts to get more names. And night, when people say it's night eating is as an eating disorder also. When people say is at night, so exploring night and sexuality, and it's a, how do we say in Portuguese, is a full plate, yeah, of psychoanalysis to do also. Not the classical kind of thing, but going deeper. It's about going deeper, yes.
Okay, well,
Trying.
thank you everybody for joining tonight and for staying on this long. I found this to be absolutely fascinating, like I said earlier. Thank you, Elisabeth. For those of you who have questions, you may reach out to her. Her email address is down on the bottom. I'm sure you can Google her name and come up with that also.
And if you know someone who can benefit from the work, uh, my site is not ready yet, but I have a link to a free consultation. So, and it's called Making Peace altogether, Making Peace with Food and Body.com. So it's
Making
easy.
peace with foodandbody.com.
So people can access and talk to me and see if it fits. So
Okay. Good
thank you
night.
so